Today, in our society, the daily activities of men and women have changed greatly, and their rights, because they do not sew clothes that much since they could buy clothes from many clothing and fashion stores. There are many women and men that do get divorced, and it does not change their lifestyle because they can still have a job as long as they went to school and graduated. Women and men can go to the store and buy food and things they would need in their home to survive. Women these days could divorce if they had a bad husband and could find another one if they choose to. Women helped just like back then with gardening and farming, but farming is not that big anymore to families. Men do a lot that women do these days, such as doing the laundry, cooking, and doing the shopping, and vice versa. For women, they do a lot that men do, like construction work, every day for jobs.
The life of the Irish and African Americans are a lot better than in the olden days, since the Irish get treated equally now compared to back then. In our society, we treat Irish and African Americans nicely and do not kick them out of their houses. In our society, we include them into our countries. The children get proper schooling with teachers that care about their learning. We give them help if they're lost or need a hand. Everyone can wear clothing with shoes, which they are allowed every day. The Irish and African Americans do not get treated like slaves anymore, and they have all the same rights we have. The African Americans are allowed into every country and will not get kicked out, since they are all equal. People do not make fun of the African Americans and do not criticize them, unlike in the olden days. They can have jobs and make money to buy food and houses, which everyone has a chance to do.
In our society today, people like to move to Canada, but not because it has more freedom. It is because of the environment and the climate is great. We have perfect farming conditions for people. People can still have a good job if they have completed school. Canada is a nice place to live. That is why some people like to live here. Women and men in the 1800s are similar to our society, but there are some activities that they had to do that we do not need to do now. Women had to learn how to live on their own, either cook, sew, make things out of wood. Daughters would be taught native skills from their mothers and European customs from their fathers. They also had to learn how to read and write in Christian values. Women that were not married had to rely on relatives for support and a place to live. Women could not divorce their husbands, so they had to pick a good partner or they would live a horrible life and would lose their title. Women also helped with the farming, and if they had free time, they would do some knitting. Women usually got married, and if their husband came to the country to marry them, he would take the woman back to the place where he lives. Men had to do all the dangerous work, since they were the strongest. They mostly had to do was to hunt for food, plant crops, and had to go and work to make money. Women at home, of course, had to cook the food, clean the house, do some of the farming as well as the man, and do the laundry, which entailed putting clothes in a bucket of water and soap. They plunged and scrubbed the clothes on a board, and they hung them up to dry on a rope. If men did get divorced or when they moved out of their parents' house, they would be forced to marry and would have to marry quickly. Their parents would arrange a woman for that man. In the movie Far and Away, it tells and represents life as a Irish and a woman and what they had to learn to survive and also make money.
The Irish and African American life was not good in the past. because they did not have any rights. The Irish were not allowed in certain areas, and they were made fun of since they were Irish. Nobody liked the Irish, and they did not get much land since Britain was in control of the land, and they hated them. All of the peasants would have the opportunity to pay in grain, because the chance of them actually having gold was little to none. If you were Irish and you had no home, then you would have two choices. One, to live in a ditch with a little wooden roof over your head, or two, to hope that other Irish would help you, because no British would help you. The Irish always tried to fight for more land, which the British refused. The African Americans got treated as slaves, since Britain made them slaves so they could work for them. Kids that were slaves had no rights, same as their parents. They were given no clothes, only the clothes they had when they were enslaved. If the landowner wanted their land back, then they would burn the people's houses down, or try to convince them to leave. Many English people were racist to the African Americans. There were lots of fights that went on in the pioneer life due to this. Canada had way more benefits than Europe and America since everyone got treated equally and became rich in resources, not money. They were able to live a nice life and were not treated as slaves, and were able to grow crops and eat well. Canada was where all the freedom was and the place for families to live.
People tried to find ways to Canada, such as the Underground Railroad. They wanted to move to Canada since the people were nicer there and there was more freedom. Windsor was a place in Canada which was a great place to go to and settle. In Canada, there were less dangers and it was a more calm place. People were not treated as slaves in Canada, and it was easy to find a job and to have land and a home. That is why the Americans tried to find a way to get there, because to them it made them feel like they were rich if they got there. The potato famine in Ireland made it difficult for the Irish to make a living, which was a major push factor that made them want to come to Canada. In Canada, there were better fields and soil that you can plant crops and live a life. If people moved to Canada, they would get 50 acres of land. Sometimes, if people wanted to move or go to Canada, they would be shipped there in a parcel or a box. The African Americans tried to find good jobs, which they moved around America to live, which was called the Great Migration. Canada had the benefits of freedom and rights, which everyone wanted to have.